trouble. They're backing up. They're focus firing on the Zealots, trying to slow them down, trying to buy themselves some time, trying to hope they can wear down those Zealots with repeated use of their concussion missiles.
Ooh, and we have them turning around just trying to get off one shot and continue running away. They're trying to kite that Zealot away as fast as they can. Are they going to be able to take down the probe? Those two Marauders. We've got a Zealot and a probe in hot pursuit of those two Marauders, and they are able to take down both of them. Oh, but 3 more Zealots come into play, and those Marauders are not going to see the light of another day.
Yeah, they're absolutely toast. So he managed to eke out a little bit of a victory there, but it wasn't enough. The warp in really helped the Protoss player get back into the game, make sure he got some forces down on the battlefield, and maintain control of the middle of the map. It's very important for the Protoss player right now to maintain control of that middle area so he can keep up the pressure on the Terran base.
That's right. Pressure is extremely important in StarCraft 2 because if you leave anyone alone for a given amount of time, you can get steamrolled.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it looks like the Protoss player has managed to expand here. He is going to bring up some additional probes from his other main base, and he's going to try to use that base to get some more resources. He's also got a robotics facility up and running, too, actually, as a matter of fact. He's got a Colossus on the way. He's built the support facility for the Colossus, and it's going to be coming out. This is a very dangerous unit. It can be upgraded to have siege range. It can move up and down cliffs. It's got a powerful area effect beam. It's not a great weapon against the Marauders, which is kind of a shame because there's a lot of Terran Marauders on the map.
If we did see a higher number of Colossus working together in unison, we could absolutely see those Marauders get threatened huge. But, I mean, he's not really planning on killing the army. Right now, all that this Protoss player wants to use those Colossus for, likely, is to take out that expansion now that he's found it with his Observer.
He's just seen it with that Observer. This is a flying cloaked unit for the Protoss that allows him to fly around and see what's going on, detect units, and you can see that he's got it up there, up that cliff. He's seen what's going on. He sees the expansion, and now he knows that what he thought was a winning game is not going the way he was hoping it would, and so now he's got to move to engage that expansion, and he's bringing over some Zealots. No doubt he'll bring over his Colossus and some additional forces and try to break through those rocks. Of course, the Terran player has control of that watchtower, so he can see what's going on. The Terran player is fully aware of what's happening. He sees those rocks under attack. Once those rocks go down, the Zealots will be into the Terran base, and the Terrans are trying to break through their own set of rocks. He needs to get up there to protect his base. Who will break their rocks first is the real question right now, and the Colossus is in. It's attacking the Terran base. It's driving off of those SCVs. The SCVs are running for their lives while the Colossus is stalking around, trying to do as much damage as he possibly can. He's running as close to those Marauders as he can, and the Colossus is a little too close to that Terran army. It's trying to get off some shots. It's going to get off a few shots, and then it's dropped by those tough Marauders.
Ooh, and it's looking like Matt Cooper was just a little bit distracted, possibly by seeing all of these Hellions run past his proxy pylon in the center of his map. We can see those Hellions laying down some damage, trying to take out as many of the probes as they possibly can. We do see a Stalker getting warped into play, going to lay down some pressure. The Hellions are going to try to move around over towards the natural. Oh, and that Colossus there. Those Hellions do not stand a chance.
Yeah, those Hellions are going down to the Colossus and the Stalker. Back in the Terran base, the Zealots are in among the SCVs once again, doing as much damage as they can to the Terran economy, just tearing away. But that's a lot of Marauders. That's a lot of Stalkers in the way, and the SCVs are fighting back as well. You can see one of the Stalkers is brought down by combined SCV and Marauder fire, and the few Protoss survivors from that failed assault will limp away to safety. The Observer remaining overhead to watch what goes on inside the Terran base.
So fortunately enough for the Protoss player, he does still have that proxy pylon up there, but unbeknownst to him, on the production menu, we can see that the Terran player is researching Cloak, which is going to be devastating versus anything on the Protoss force because he doesn't have cannons placed around his bases.
Absolutely, and so the Terrans are researching Cloak for their Banshees. The Banshee is a very deadly air-to-ground gunship. They can do a lot of damage to the Colossus, a lot of damage to a lot of other units. He really needs more observers in the air if he's going to spot those cloaked Banshees, and it looks like the Terrans are feeling like they can make a push here. He's bringing in his Hellions, he's bringing his Marauders, his Marines. This is a small but deadly Protoss force, but he is backing up, trying to buy time for his units. It looks like some of his Zealots have gotten stuck behind the battle lines there. Oh, the Colossus goes down to mass Marauder fire, and the Terran force is doing terrible damage, just trashing that Protoss position, tearing up his Stalkers, tearing up his Zealots, and there we go. Only 2 Stalkers left. Both go down simultaneously to some great micro by the Terran player. And it looks like that proxy pylon, which has been so great for the Protoss player throughout the game, is finally going to go down.
That's right. And over here we do see a couple Stalkers. They're looking to pressure that the Terran high ground expansion because they know that your enemy getting free minerals is never a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's going to move in here and see what he can do, but there is a Banshee in play. The Stalkers are pretty strong against the Banshee, but the Banshee gets a couple of free shots in before the Stalkers move in, and you can see it's just not going that well for him. He really needs to micro that Stalker away, but he fails. The Banshee does survive, will no doubt be repaired. Meanwhile, out on the rest of the map, it looks like there's another small battle going on. The Colossus have come up. They've destroyed, along with their Zealot buddies, they've destroyed what remained of that Terran strike force, and the Terrans in the middle of the board are once again on the run. You can see the Zealots using their charge to hunt down and kill those Marauders.
Now, on the unit overlay, it's clear that this is not all that remains of the Terran army. There is a large force being created and amassing up in the Terran base. We can see that little blob of blue just moving across the map, and here they come. They're going to be chasing down those Zealots. The Zealots stand no chance against the number of Hellions that large.
Yeah, those Hellions have a very powerful flamethrower that can really do a lot of damage to light targets like those Zealots. You can see the Terran army is massing up there for a push. This is a pretty decent sized force for the Protoss, but you see what's going on with the Protoss, why their force is so small. They've been spending a lot of their resources on expanding over here to this high yield area, building another base so you can collect some additional resources. This is very, very important for the Protoss player to stay in the game, to keep building additional resources, to keep his economy going. And here come the Banshees on the loose, flying around the map, looking to cause some trouble, and it looks like there's a single SCV from the Terrans scouting around, trying to make sure that the Protoss player is not expanding.
That's right. We have certainly seen David Kim's Banshees wreak havoc on Matt's expansions before, and here we go again. We're going to see these Banshees just getting control, trying to take out probes one by one. I mean, one attack from each of these Banshees on any of those probes, and they go down very quickly. We do see a Stalker brought into play, going to try to pressure those Banshees, but the Banshees are, of course, going to move away because they don't want it to get killed.
Yeah, so he wants to keep harassing them. He doesn't even take a lot of damage on them because he wants to keep the pressure up, and he knows there'll be more Stalkers warping in where those came from. And here comes this scout. This is incredibly important for the Terran player. He's going to spot this expansion now. There were a couple of cannons being built, but they're not up fast enough, and the SCV gets right inside. He's going to get a good look at that base, and here comes the Terran player. He wants to push now. He's moving in, trying to engage those Colossus, and it looks like he's managed to do a lot of damage to those units. Oh my god, one of the Colossus is taking just a beating from those Banshees. The Hellions are backing up under that withering fire, but still the Banshees are doing their damage. Oh, one of the Colossus goes down to the cloaked Banshees, and the last remaining Colossus is going to limp away, try to find some cover under the guns of his friendly Stalkers there, and looks like the cloak is still in play. There's no observer nearby, and here comes the observer. The observer's moved in. Now the Banshees can be seen, and one is destroyed.
Ooh, what a good attack by the Terran player. Otto, and now that the Terran player is able to see this Protoss expansion, he's going to be moving over there with this large amount of Marauders. That is 12 Marauders, and an additional 4 Hellions are just absolutely going to be able to tear those cannons apart. There was a unit trying to be warped in, but he focused it during the 5 seconds that it was getting warped in and killed him before it was able to hatch.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like the Stalker's going to come in and try to bail the situation out, but that's way too many Marauders for that Stalker. He doesn't got a lot of hope of dealing with the situation, and still no real practical way to deal with that many Banshees. He has dropped a number of them, but it looks like he has lost all of his Stalkers, and now the Colossus is trying to get to a position where it can fire at the Marauders, but it's just taking a pounding from those Banshees, and this base is going down. There goes the Nexus. That's just too many Marauders doing tons and tons of damage, especially to buildings, just tearing up the place while the Protoss desperately scramble to stay in this game.
Now, meanwhile, the Terran is just going to build another expansion. He wants to keep this one up, so he's just going to build another command center and take it on over to his natural expansion.
Yeah, and it looks like here come the Banshees in once again. Now, there's not actually a lot going on back here. Most of the probes have already left. They've moved off to other areas to resource, so those Banshees are going to do some damage, but not a lot. Meanwhile, at the front of the Protoss base, the Terrans are pressing in. The Protoss don't have a lot on the field. You can see they're not producing almost anything. There's only 3 Zealots being warped in right now compared to the large number of forces being created by the Terrans. And here come the workers moving out, trying to engage these Marauders. He's got to drive these Marauders away. Here comes some Zealots tearing away at the Marauders, and the probes are moving in, fighting off as well. The Marauders are backing up, firing a shot, backing up, firing a shot, trying to kite these units away, trying to get as much damage as they can get in before they're brought down.
They just need to leave this force as beaten as they possibly can, because right now David Kim is just trying to maintain the pressure while he continues production. We can see his resources are doing amazing. I mean, right now Matt Cooper's falling behind because he's using all of his probes to try and harass that the Marauder force.
And there go the probes back to production. Not very many left. It looks like he's got a couple of Zealots in play. He's very carefully trying to battle out against these Marauders. I don't think the Zealot's going to survive. It's going to be a very close battle between these two, and the Zealot wins narrowly with 17 hit points remaining. The Zealot is the victor. A very small victory for a very, very troubled Protoss player.
Wow, and David Kim is actually doing even better than we may have thought. He does have another expansion down in the bottom left of his base and has this huge, overwhelming force moving across the center of the map to seal the deal.
Yeah, and here is the trouble coming in for the Terran player, a huge force of Hellions and Marauders. There's really nothing on the ground that can stand up to this. He needs some air forces to deal with it, but he doesn't have them, and here comes the last of the Protoss defenders, desperately trying to stem the loss of life. He rushes the workers in, but those Hellions with a perfect counter. They tear through those workers and cut them all to pieces. This has really got to be the end of the game for the Protoss player. He's in a lot of trouble here. He's lost, and there's the GG. Matt Cooper conceding the game. Good game, he says, to David Kim.
So we just saw David Kim get in there with those Marauders and those Banshees and ultimately push Matt Cooper into a corner he just couldn't get out of.
Yeah, it was really, really tough on Matt. He really had some options to get out of that situation. He could have gone to the air. He could have gone with Phoenix. He could have gone with Warp Rays, but he just couldn't manage it in time, and he ultimately was overrun. You can see StarCraft 2 is such a challenging game for play. These players did a really great job at showing us what a very competitive match can look like.